Story: everyone ignored the paralyzed little girl. Until a police dog exposed a hidden secret. From the very first moment the police dog lunged forward, eyes fixed, muscles tense, and tail stiff as a rod, everyone froze in shock. The street was quiet, the afternoon sun mild, and yet something in the air felt heavy, almost suffocating, as if an unseen truth was struggling to break free. The dog, a trained canine named Ranger, refused to move from the side of an old park bench where a tiny paralyzed girl sat unnoticed, her trembling hands clutching the edges of her wheelchair. People had walked past her all morning, pretending not to see her frightened eyes, her messy hair, her bruised arms partly hidden under a worn sweater. Nobody knew her name. Nobody had bothered to ask. But Ranger sensed something the humans could not or would not see. In that moment, everything was about to change. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and helping those who can't help themselves, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps more stories reach the people who need them. Her name was Lily. She was 8 years old, paralyzed from the waist down after an accident that no one fully understood, an accident that had changed her life forever. She spent most days sitting quietly in that same corner of the park, her eyes drifting from passing cars to the busy sidewalks filled with people too preoccupied with their own lives to notice the loneliness etched across her face. She wore clothes that never seemed to fit right, shoes that looked several years old, and a sadness that no child her age should ever carry. But even in her isolation, she tried to stay strong, counting the seconds in her head, humming to herself, pretending that she belonged somewhere. Deep inside, though, the truth was darker, heavier, and far more painful than the world around her could imagine. Officer Daniel, Ranger's handler, had been patrolling the park when Ranger suddenly tugged hard on his leash. The dog's body language changed instantly from relaxed to alert, the way he reacted only when he sensed danger or distress. Daniel trusted Ranger's instincts with his life. Together, they had saved missing children, exposed crimes, and comforted victims in moments of unbearable fear. But today felt different. Ranger wasn't reacting to a threat. He was reacting to a secret, a silent cry for help that no one else had noticed. As Daniel approached the bench, he saw Lily sitting stiffly, her shoulders hunched as if trying to disappear into herself. At first glance, she looked like any sick or neglected child, but Ranger's behavior told him there was far more beneath the surface. Lily's wheelchair had scratches along the sides, as if dragged roughly. Her hands had faint bruises, old and new, some shaped like fingerprints. Daniel felt a tightness in his chest, a sharp blend of anger and heartbreak, but he kept his voice soft and his posture gentle. Ranger moved closer, his nose brushing against Lily's legs, analyzing scents humans could never decode. The dog then looked back at Daniel with an expression he recognized instantly. "She's not safe. Something is wrong. Help her." That silent message was powerful enough to send a rush of urgency through him. As Daniel began assessing the situation, he noticed that Lily flinched at the slightest movement or sound. Her eyes darted nervously toward the path leading out of the park, as if she feared someone's arrival. She tried to force a smile at Daniel, but it trembled and collapsed halfway. That one broken smile told him everything. This child was suffering in ways she couldn't put into words. She wasn't just ignored, she was trapped. Ranger rested his head gently on her lap, and for the first time Lily let out a small, shaky breath, as if she had been holding it in for hours. Tears filled her eyes, silent but overwhelming. Over the next hour, Daniel stayed with her, watching carefully, piecing together the unspoken puzzle. Ranger paced protectively around them, stopping occasionally near her wheelchair, sniffing it, growling softly at something he detected. There was fear embedded in the metal. Ranger sensed it. Daniel saw it. Lily lived in a world where the people meant to protect her had failed completely. The truth finally surfaced when she whispered, barely audible, that she wasn't allowed to speak to anyone, wasn't allowed to ask for help, wasn't allowed to exist outside the shadows of her home. The accident that paralyzed her was not an accident at all. It was a story forced upon her, a lie she was expected to repeat. Ranger whined and nudged her hand, encouraging her, comforting her, letting her know she wasn't alone. Daniel made the decision instantly. He wasn't going to leave her in the hands of people who caused her harm. With careful steps, he lifted Lily into Ranger's patrol vehicle, securing her safely as Ranger climbed beside her, refusing to leave her side. She clung to the dog's fur as though it were the only safe thing she had known in a long time. Her tears soaked into his coat, but Ranger didn't move. He simply stayed, loyal and steady, offering the warmth and protection she had been denied for far too long. Daniel drove straight to the precinct, heart pounding with determination and a rising fury at the cruelty she had endured. The investigation that followed uncovered a nightmare. The people responsible for Lily's injuries had hidden behind lies and fabricated medical claims. They thought no one would question a paralyzed child. They assumed the world would look away, just as everyone in the park had done day after day. But one dog, the dog everyone admired for his courage, had seen what the world ignored. Ranger's instincts had saved her, exposing truths that would have remained buried forever. Lily was placed under emergency protection, surrounded by social workers who treated her gently, doctors who examined her injuries with compassion, and officers who vowed to keep her safe. Days passed, and Lily began to heal, not just physically, but emotionally. She learned to laugh again, quietly at first, then brighter, fuller, as she spent more time with Ranger. The dog became her guardian angel, visiting her daily, resting beside her during therapy sessions, and guiding her through moments when fear tried to pull her back into old shadows. Ranger would nudge her hand, lick her fingers, or simply sit close enough for her to feel his heartbeat. That was all she needed to know she was no longer alone. Slowly, Lily's world transformed. She was placed in a safe foster home with people who loved her, supported her, and treated her with the kindness she had always deserved. Ranger's visits became the highlight of her week, and each time he arrived, she greeted him with a radiant smile that had once been impossible. The park where she had once been ignored became the place where her story began anew, a memory of darkness replaced by a future filled with hope. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these meaningful stories reach more people and spread awareness.